I see your point. When it comes to taking a man with your bare hands, it's rather risky, isn't it?
You're very clever, Mr. Conant. But there's one flaw in your cleverness. It is as easy to kill you with these as with that.
Hey everybody, this is Josh Hagen and Tommy Macias. So for people that don't know who Tommy is, you probably don't follow that much judo.
We took 2 golds in judo this week. I don't know what my heart might explode, but we've got a chance.
Judo is like different level.
Look, judo is the best, in my opinion, for someone who's wearing clothes.
Joining me is Josh Hagen. Nobody better to talk judo with us.
How deep would you go? Judo's a good thing to learn, man, just period.
Get started. We are in episode something. I don't know, 6 maybe, I think.
I won't say 7, but...
Huh?
I won't say number 7, but...
Okay. Well, between 6 and 7 is our guess. Tommy Macias and Josh Hagen, Judo's Calling. And any updates on anything other than I might have to fix a podcast? Other than that, anything new and exciting? Words around the world?
No, only that most people don't know that we're doing a podcast. So,
right. So we need more people to share it, let their friends know, let your parents know.
But this week, everywhere where I've been, I guess you have been listening to my podcast and know that I've been speaking about this. And they're like, oh, you're doing a podcast? Yeah, okay, I will listen.
Okay, nice. Well, that's good.
But that's also a fun part, like, I can start saying, yeah, you know what we talked about in last episode. We're talking about this, and
right.
What are you doing podcast? Okay, let's get into it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, let's share it more and spread the word.
Yeah, as a man who travels all over the world, as you do, all over Europe, anyways, all over the world. You came to Canada this year.
Yes.
Yeah, you can spread the knowledge. Yeah, for us, the thing that's exciting is we've got in Canada, the season's really starting up. So this coming weekend, we've got the Ontario Open, which is one of the biggest events in Canada, in my home province of Ontario, so in Toronto. And then the following weekend, we've got a really big tournament in Winnipeg, and then Veteran Worlds is soon after. And then we have back-to-back really tough tournaments. We have a tournament called the Quebec Open, which a lot of internationals have historically come to. And then we have they call it the Canada Cup or the Canadian Continental Cup. That happens in November as well. So it's sort of back to back to back. So I'm gone like 3 weeks. So we're finally getting started on the season, which is very exciting for me.
All of these tournaments, are they open for non-Canadians also?
Yes. All of them are internationally allowed, and Quebec usually has the biggest turnout from internationals. You see, we have a tour that's like, it starts... We go Ontario, then Manitoba, then Quebec. Then we have Saskatchewan Open here where I live. And then we have British Columbia, Pacific International. There used to be a Japanese team that would come. Lots of Americans come from the Western states up to that one. Then we have one in Edmonton that's huge. It's usually mostly just Canadian, but its numbers are massive. They do it used to be the biggest mall in the world, in the West Edmonton Mall. They do it in the hockey rink there. So when you're there, it's like you're literally in the middle of a mall in a hockey rink and all these people watch. It's kind of a cool event. And then in April, there's the one we don't go to in the province of New Brunswick. And then you have the national championship. So we have this sort of Canadian national tour. That's a pretty significant event calendar for us throughout the year. And then you have provincial championships by province and stuff. But those are the major ones.
And you have also, do you have a qualification system, or you get some points?
For those events, no. We used to have 2 different national championships. We had an open nationals where the province sort of selects you, and there isn't a cap on how many athletes you can bring. So different provinces have different rules. Typically, it's basically open. And then we used to have an event called the Elite Nationals, which was sort of our version of the World Masters, where it was top 8, invite only based on points, and we only did it for cadet age and senior age. This year is the first year they've taken it away. Like we had that for, I don't know, I want to say like 8 years, and they've decided to step away from doing that. I think just the time of year they were doing it and how busy the international judo calendar seems to get busier and busier. And so with how busy that calendar is, our number one athletes, when they started the Elite Eight Nationals, I watched Antoine Valois-Fortier fight and Artur Margelidon and Jessica Klimkade and Katrin Boschman-Pinard. And now with that calendar shift, they weren't able to compete in it the last couple of years. So that took away from the event. So they've removed that event now, but we do now have a continental championship, which we held one Grand Prix ever, which was in 2019, I think, in Montreal Grand Prix. And then after that, we started the Canada Cup or Continental Championship, which is an IJF registered event. And so we do that every November. So we do Quebec Open, a 3-day training camp, and then Canada Cup immediately after. That's sort of our major tour events. And then our season mostly goes like October till end of May. That's our national championships. What's it like in Denmark?
Yeah, we don't have a tour. We have some tournaments.
Right.
I think we have 2 big tournaments every year.
Right.
But they have nothing to do with each other and nothing to do with the federation. And
Okay.
so.
And then you have a national championships?
Yeah, national championship. But not so many people on that national championship.
No way.
So no, it's not so. Judo is not so big here.
So do a lot of athletes go to Sweden and Finland and other countries in that neighborhood?
Germany is close. Many people go to Germany for competition. They have a really good system for cadet and juniors and seniors as well. But the rest of Europe, of course, we go sometimes to Sweden, but Europe is right next to Denmark, with Germany just a few hours away in the car. So mostly Europe.
Yeah, and for people that aren't aware, the German system, similar to like the French system, it's massive. Like they have 4 regional training centers, right? 4, I think.
They have a lot. And they have
and
a lot
those
of
regional training centers aren't like small programs. They're massive dojos with huge number of people training. There's multiple of those and a national training center, I believe, right?
But there are also a lot of competitions for cadets and juniors that are like massive. Really, really many athletes.
Yeah.
So,
like the infrastructure for judo in Germany is humongous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a tournament that Canada has historically gone to in Bremen. It's a really big tournament.
I also been in Bremen.
Yeah.
Nice tournament.
Yeah. I don't know if Canada is going to be going to it as much anymore. We're sort of changing our system to...
Yeah, I think it's really sad with Bremen, because Bremen, when I was young, when I was cadet and junior, Bremen was the biggest tournament.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, with all of these European Cups coming up more and more for cadets and juniors, it feels like Bremen is not so good level anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, like Canada came before all the time, Brazil, Japan, Russia, Kazakhstan, everyone was there. But now, I think there is so many European Cups for cadets now.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to the European Cups instead because they want their qualification points for the Europeans and Worlds. So I think it's a bit sad that Bremen is not as big as it was before. The level is not as high.
There was a similar one that I attended as a coach called Aix-en-Provence. I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's in the south of France near Marseille. And I went there maybe 2016, 2017. It's huge. So I had an athlete competing, and at 73 kilograms, I think he had about 81 in his division, and about 65 of those athletes were from France. And there was a couple Germans, and, you know, there'd be people from other places. But yeah, 73 kilos, he had like 65 athletes from France alone, and then other countries. And the team that would go there from Japan was the All Japan High School All-Star team, I believe is who they would send. So the Japanese just sent 14 athletes, but it was like just the best high school athletes in the country. And they took something like 12 gold medals out of 14 divisions, and it was a junior U21 event. It was only U21, and it was massive. And then they would do a training camp after in Marseille, and the training camp would be maybe 350 people on the mats. So the Canadian team that went was mostly Quebec athletes, but all national medalists, and very few of them won a fight. Like, it was an incredibly tough event. So, but yeah, I think as a whole, I think the whole judo world is moving away from these non-IGF events. So
Yeah.
the hope is maybe Bremen and Aix-en-Provence and tournaments like that can come to some, I don't expect it, but it'd be really nice if they could come to an agreement with the IJF to sort of keep those tournaments in place and keep them valuable and get them registered with the IJF to be an event in that way, rather than having these incredible events that are decades old die.
Yeah, but I guess it's money, right?
It's always money. Yeah, it's always money.
I guess the IJF wants a bit of that money that goes through Bremen. So
Yeah, it might be more than
but I'm loyal. I'm loyal to Bremen. I'm always sending my athletes there, and
right.
I always remember it's as a good tournament, and I want to support that. And of course, it's much cheaper than the European Cup events as well.
Right.
It's much cheaper, so I think you just have to be smart.
Yeah, I guess like for us, it's really expensive no matter what. So what's the difference?
No, it doesn't matter. But for us, it's much cheaper to go to Bremen than to go to European Cup.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
yes, registration fee and
Hundreds of dollars cheaper per athlete, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to take some athletes to a non-IGF event in Europe this year. We'll see. Metsume Cup, fingers crossed. Maybe that'll happen.
Next year, but
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, this year, when I say this year, I mean this season. I always have people that are non-judo people. When I say this year, I'm always thinking about as the season, not in the calendar year. Yes, this season, next calendar year. Yeah, so we'll see.
And when you come to Denmark, then I will show you all the good parts of Denmark.
Okay.
I just have to find them first.
Well, we have to find them. Will we have time for them all? Will we have the 17 minutes required to get to them all?
Yes.
Speaking of the IGF, this is sort of doesn't really make sense as a connection, but we know that the IGF's changing their rules. We know that a rule change comes out after the Olympics every year.
Yes.
So there will be rule changes coming out in January. What those rule changes are, we don't know. We don't know yet. But the All Japan Federation has made some very significant changes. Now, they've made changes before. They've previously instituted the Yuko, which I think is not a bad idea. They also changed the rule that they were not doing golden score. They were doing Hantai, or is it Hantai? No. Yes,
Hantai, Hantai. I don't know
the judges decide, right?
Hantai, yes.
The judges deciding the winner. That's a rule that I don't like, actually, because I don't like an arbitrary reason winner lost because of it, as we've talked before, just randomly based on an attack rate. So I don't like that. I think
that was a white judogi. So
right, yeah.
No,
they don't wear a blue judogi.
As well.
They don't wear a blue judogi. They use the Yuko. They don't have golden score. I personally think golden score is one of the best things that we've brought to judo.
I think there's a referee on the mat.
Yeah, judges because of the flags. Yeah. Now that I do like, actually, I do like a ref with two judges. This is so. Here's my take on the reffing, and we'll start there.
Yeah, let's start there.
Let's start with the refs. Okay, one referee, judges on the corners. You have a table. The table is not a referee. Okay, this is, I think, my favorite scenario. The table's not a referee. When we had this before, we didn't have a replay system. Now, when you look at sports like basketball and hockey, how they worked is you have the officials on the ice or on the field, and then when a review was called, those guys or gals went to the review system and watched the review together and came to a decision about what the rule was. We didn't have that system before, but now we do. where there's a review system. And I personally think rather than a ref out here and one person sitting at the table that basically turns into one person making a decision, that you should have the 3 refs that you have. That keeps 3 refs engaged. Then they go as a group, and the person at the table just operates the review system. I think that would be the perfect scenario. We do a review, but it's 1-on-1, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I remember now when this was free referee. Do you remember they could do like this, and then
they have a little chat.
Yeah, they come there. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah.
That was really good. Then they started to discuss about the pro. Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought it was I didn't. They'd have a chat.
Yeah. Because if he didn't agree with them, they call them together and like, why did you think it was Vasari?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then 2 out of 3 decides, and that's the score.
They discuss about it, and then
very democratic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't have a review system then, but now you have a review system. So if you had those 3 people go and watch the review when something needed to be reviewed, I think that would be the best scenario. Oh. You're back.
Yeah, you're back. You are out. I was
okay.
Out.
So what do you think about that reffing system of 3 refs on the mat?
I really like the referee system of 3.
Yeah.
Good for everyone. I think they removed it because it don't look good from the outside. Then it's like you cannot see, and with the camera angle and everything. I think it was the 2 on the side. They were in front of the entertainment, or what you say. So
right.
And that's why, if I remember right, they removed it because of that they were going to sit on the side doing the same thing.
But the problem with sitting on the side, when you're sitting on behind a table, and especially you see this at lower levels, is it's so easy to be distracted. People are walking behind them. People are talking to them. So it's very easy. I would be distracted.
On all levels, they are, I promise you, so many times I can see referee on the highest level, they are not looking at the fight.
Right, because it's the world of distractions too easy. When you're sitting in the chair on the corner of the mats, you can't go to sleep. You can't start playing on your phone. You can't have a chat with someone because everyone's there to see it. It holds an accountability, which is important. So I don't like that part of our current system. I do like we have a replay system, but I liked the 3 refs way more.
I also like the 3 refs. Now when we talk about it.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Yeah.
I really miss it.
Next, how do you feel about the Yukos that they have?
I think that I don't know if it's good or bad. If they would bring them back, I know why they removed it, because they removed all the lower scores because they don't want people to go for the lower score.
You think they did it for that reason? I thought they did it. This was my take. I thought they did it to remove confusion as a viewer. If you don't know judo, there's this weird score system that's complicated with a whole bunch of Japanese words. Instead of half score, full score, wazari upon, just makes it clean and easy.
No, the kuka for sure they removed because sometimes they were just aiming for the kuka, you know. I remember I saw some fights like back in the 90s when they were just hitting the leg or something and just trying to get that one down on their butt to get the kuka. And I understand that's not a real throw.
Right. Do someone just hit the butt?
Yeah. So I understand they removed the kuka for that reason. That it's not a real throw. It's just he fell down.
Right.
And you could win fights with that. On the other hand, I really loved that you have more scores, because I just remember my father when I was young. He said, "Yeah, if one athlete has 10 kuka and the other one has 1 yuku, then the one with yuku wins." You know, then you can, with that idea that the one with the highest score wins. Doesn't matter how many small scores you have.
Right.
That idea, like that, you can like gather those small points. But if the other one can have the ippon in the end, he'll win. That you can be, the other one can throw you for 1 wasari, 10 yukus, and 15 kuka, and then still you can win if you throw an ippon.
Right.
Now it's now with 2 wasari / yuku.
Right. Yeah, like I think if you bring Yuko back, you've got to make a wazari a higher difficulty to score right?
Yeah.
What's now a Wazadi, a lot of those would be Yuko. You'd have to
Yeah.
separate Yuko and Wazadi again a little more if you wanted to bring a Yuko
I
back.
think today, like having two old Yokos and win the game, that's too easy.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I personally think the idea of just the Yuko would be nice because you can get a score that's recognized as a score. It would end match in regulation, right? The Yuko could even be maybe a touch softer than what a Wazadi is currently.
Yeah,
And
like if you
Wazadi
land
could
like
be
that Wasari, you remember when you got a Wasari for that landing? That could be a Yuko score.
right. That could be a Yuko, which would end the match if it gets to overtime. But then a Wazadi, being a proper Wazadi, still beats it. Two proper Wazadis to get to a Nippon. So it gives us another reason for the match to end in regulation because of scores instead of penalties, like we've talked about. So that's one that, like, bringing back the Yuko and really redefining what a Wazadi is, I think would be something I'd be interested in. The three refs, I also like that. So they're 2 for 2 with me right now in the federation. Now, next one, this might make me
No. You don't like the Hante. The Hante you don't like.
No, that I don't like. That's true. They're 2 for 3 because I don't like. Golden score is way better. You're right. So they're 2 for 3. Now this one is where they even it up because call me new school, but I like blue judogi. It's way easier to see who gets a score. It's not like something we just invented yesterday. We've been wearing blue judogi since '97. I understand it's traditional to wear white, but it's easier to referee. It's easier as a viewer. It's visually more appealing. I think the blue judogi makes way more sense. I disagree there. I know they're doing it from like a traditionalist standpoint, but judo looks better with someone wearing a totally different colored uniform.
Yeah. I agree with white and blue judogi. I think that's...
Yeah, otherwise you wear the sash. You can't even see the sash all the time. The sash falls off. You're always trying to find a sash. It's just annoying. Everything with sashes was annoying. Now we get into the real meat and potatoes, okay? So now we have a new rule in the All Japan Federation where they want to bring back the ability to grab the leg.
But yes, so everyone know what I think. It's only for one competition. It's the Open All Japan Championship.
I don't know if it's only for one competition or if it's a rule that they're instituting going forward. But what I do know is I know how they're instituting it.
Okay.
So
Let's do this.
no Marotegari. You have to have similar to the clinch rule, you have to have a grip before you grab the leg. You can't just go for the legs. That's number one. Number two, your other hand has to be on the judogi. So I can't wrap up a leg with my arms or whatever. But I could do a Sode Sudekomi Goshi and this hand could come down. I could do a Kochimaki Komi and this could wrap around the leg. I could counter with a Teguruma. So it gives back some throws that we haven't used in a while. It gives us versions of throws we haven't seen in a while, like Sode, like Kochimaki Komi, like Kataguruma, where you could grab the leg again. But you have to have the other hand on the judogi. The thing that's interesting, I'll say, is since this note went out like maybe a week ago, the judo world is so beyond excited. Like, clearly, the judo world is so beyond excited. Like, every person that I know in judo is sharing that this is the case, how excited they are that this is the case, which makes you go, like, if everyone we know in judo is that excited about the idea of one hand being allowed to grab the leg, if the IJF doesn't consider it, it makes you wonder a little, right? If everyone that does...
Everyone who I spoke with also like, oh, have you seen this new rule? The IJF has changed the rule. Like, no, it's one competition. Let's wait and see.
Right.
And
it's not
like,
the IJF.
Even the beginners in our judo club, they talk about it. Like, how everyone is talking about it. So.
And historically, people used to say, well, the Japanese never liked it, right? Well, it's the Japanese putting this back in. Not at the IJF level. It's only at a Japanese event, which is a major Japanese event. But nevertheless, when the entire judo world is that excited about being able to grab the leg, maybe the IJF needs to reconsider whether or not you can grab the leg. Because it's unbelievable.
It's hard, you know. Okay, they can change. They are allowed to change rules many times before the. I think they have a rule that say you cannot change the rules during the qualification to the Olympics. So
Not within 2 years. Yeah.
yeah, so they can. So that they are allowed to change some rules now, and then if it's not working out the way they want, they can change it again.
Mhm.
Because I'm not sure how the judo will be after the change if they can grab the leg.
I'm
I'm
not
not sure if it's gonna be a good judo to watch, a fun judo to watch, or it's gonna be going back to this negative, boring judo, like we saw before. So,
But it is a very big change. It is interesting because there's a level to it, right? If we just said fully bring leg grabs back, okay, well, we've seen that before. But saying you have to have a grip first and saying you have to keep one hand above, that does change things, right?
yeah, but we had that rule also. Like when they removed the leg grab in the beginning, then it was not a ban for everything. Then it was you could continue if you had a combination or counter attacks.
Mm.
And they even removed that rule. So,
Right.
like right in the beginning, they said combination and counter attacks are allowed.
Mhm.
But even though I like that rule, I always like to grab the leg. But I guess IGF looked at it from another point and said, no, this is not good.
Yeah, it's really hard to know because they don't make much of an attempt to educate judoka as to why. They don't do that very well. So it's really hard to know what their motivation is behind it because they don't say. So you're just left guessing. You're like, you took away a part of judo that a lot of people like, and that's it. It's gone.
But do you think it was better judo before when you could grab the leg?
I think judo. I think
I think also judo have evolved from that point. I think they are better judokas now and
Yeah.
can think more about different strategies. So I think it will be different judo coming back if you can grab the leg again.
Right, exactly. Like I just think I don't to a degree I never think it's ever better. It's just always an ever evolving world. We're always adjusting, we're always doing things different, we're always being there's always innovators and then there's innovators in a different sense. There's always people bringing back things that we used to do and bringing them as if they're new again. And then there's so many levels where judo's just always this things become trendy in a funny way. All of a sudden everyone's doing the same rollover where they wrap their arm inside the belt, right? It went from one person does it to now every time you watch a tournament, every second rollover, someone's trying to wrap the arm in the belt because that's the best way to do it because they can't grab the belt with grip strength or whatever. Not dissing them, but you know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden everyone's doing that. And then when everyone gets bored of that, everybody will do the same other thing. Or like in the 90s, you used to always see Uchimata Sukashi. Now, Uchimata Gaeshi is also an old throw, but you didn't see that in the 80s and 90s. Well, all of a sudden in the 2000s, everyone's doing Uchimata Gaeshi instead of Uchimata Sukashi, and Uchimata Sukashi sort of goes away. So it's like, it's just interesting because techniques are always like what's trendy and what's used and how people are utilizing it is always changing based on coaches or athletes that find it successful or Sumigeishi. Well, kids in Canada watching Marcus Neiman and Tommy Macias all of a sudden want to do Sumigeishi because these two Swedes are smashing everybody with it, right? So all of a sudden that throw becomes more popular. Or standing Seiwinage in the 90s. How often do you see a standing Seiwinage now? Well, in the 90s, Koga was standing Seiwinage, launching people to another stratosphere. So it's like, it's interesting that way. So I don't think judo would get better or worse if they bring the leg grab back. It'll just be a different evolution, and it'll be okay. Like for me as a coach, all right, I haven't been coaching leg grabs in a while. Time to get bunker down and get back used to it and see how we can utilize it again. You know, it's just always adjusting, I guess.
Do you want IGF to bring it back as well?
Do I want them to bring it back?
Yeah. If it was up to you.
If it was up to me, do I want, in the context that we're talking about, I want to say yes. I'll say yes.
I guess I want to try.
Yeah, I think
this-
it would be exciting to find out where it goes.
it's not because I missed them, because like when I read it social media today, everyone, oh, I've been waiting for this so long. Oh, they have to bring it back. They have to bring it back.
Right.
They don't have to bring it back. I love you as it is right now. It could be
Right.
fun to do something new. Yes,
Mhm.
I like new stuff. So
I would like to, but here's what I would say. If you gave me a list of 3, I can change 3 rules. Oh, here's one. 3 rules in judo you can change however you want. Tell me 3 rules in judo you change however you want, and I come up with 3 rules in judo to change whatever I want. My first rule that I would change would not be that.
no, I mean, I would do this one.
You
Remove
would
that
do that
one.
one? If I could
Yes.
change a rule, as someone who's had 8 concussions, I think I've had 8 concussions. Not all because of judo. One was because of a pillow fight when I was 11. Okay. Oh, another one was because of soccer. Another one, I don't know, fell off my bike or something. So I've had a lot of concussions in my life, and most of them weren't from judo. But as someone who's had concussions, I would still say if I could change a rule in judo, I would change the head dive rule. There was a throw at the Junior Worlds when it was Japan final, and an athlete does a seoi nage and the side of his head brushes the mats after he smashes his opponent. And he gets Hansoku Make'd in the Judo World Final. And I'm sorry, but I just do not agree that that is more dangerous than any other situation in judo. And you had someone perform an incredibly good technique for a score in a final, and the other person got a gold medal. And more than anything, the amount of athletes losing matches, being disqualified from tournaments, not getting a second match for something that is not inherently dangerous. There is contact, and your head sometimes will contact the ground. If I had to change a rule, head dive rule for sure. And when you look at the comments, when the IGF posted this short clip of that final, and you look at the comments, I have never seen someone so roasted. It's like, you look at the comments, it's Flavio Canto and Jimmy Pedro, and who else was on there? Like, it was just a lineup of world champions and world medalists and Olympic medalists just going, this is a terrible call. We have to change this rule. So if I have to change a rule, that's my number 1.
And do you want it to go back as it was before? Or
I want it to
yes,
be. I want it to be that the only time I would Hansoku Make someone for that is if, without my opponent forcing me, I'd have to be doing it on my own while applying a technique. I landed directly on the top of my head, like measurably
like,
top of
so
my
like the rule was before.
Yes. And if there was any controversy about it not being the top of my head, if my head is tilted and I landed here, it's not a Hansoku. It would have to be literally the top of the head. And I think I would maybe even be more specific that I would have to see the chin fold. Because the issue with head dive isn't really about injuring the head. It's about injuring the neck. So it's like, if I see someone land on the top of the head and their chin fold underneath, independent of injury, and they did that on their own, it wasn't them forced in the position by their opponent, then I would consider a Hansoku Make. That's it. It would have to be very extreme, and I would require every time that it's called, let's pretend we had 3 refs, they would all have to unanimously agree. It would have to be like very clear that it wasn't gray. It basically, there should never be a world where a drop seoi nage or a seoi nage or an osoto can even, you'd have to be like,
But, they're not allowed to look at video or not. The referee.
on that call.
Yes.
Yes, or here's another way we could fix it. They don't look at video. They make the call because it's so obvious. But this would be an example too where a challenge would be valid. If that is ever called, if it's ever called for that circumstance, a coach could say, if you call it, that has to be I don't think that was the case. You have to watch the video, and they would have to watch the video if they called for it. I think that it's such an extreme position. Like, you don't get to compete again. Not only do you lose, but you're out of the competition. Like, it's such a significant rule. And I don't have the numbers, but how many athletes get injured this way? Number 1, very low. It's very rare. And on top of it, when people say, well, injuries do happen, yes, and injuries happen, period. Injuries happen crossing the street. Injuries happen going upstairs to bed. Injuries happen. And if you think you're going to avoid injuries, get out a high-performance sport. So that'd be my stance on it. What about you?
On your stance, or
On my stance on this, do you agree with
yeah,
that?
I totally agree that removing the head dive rule.
So if you were to pick,
for sure, I want to say the handsocker should be away. Like, and I don't know if I agree with you to go back as it was before, but the handsocker should be away for sure. Maybe a shido instead,
right?
Or a good idea. But I also can agree with you that the way as it was before was much better.
Right.
But if they want to give a shido instead, I don't want. Yeah, that's also fine. But there should not be a handsocker when you do a head dive.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's way too extreme.
Yeah.
So my rules, I would say if I could change 3 rules in judo. Number 1, head dive. Number 1 for you is
passivity.
No passivity shido.
No.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is remove that silly rule that everything has to have a name. Like, for me, like if you get that one on the back, then you get the other one on the back. Okay.
That's and the funny. Should we get into this? I mean, it's little political, but we know why that rule became a rule, right?
No, I don't know.
This rule was never mentioned ever, right? Then there's a world final with Teddy Riner fighting a Russian in a world final.
That's right.
Yes. And he goes for an attack and the Russian counters him.
But the rule was there before. Yes.
To my knowledge, I never once heard them say that. And after that match where they don't score it, which I would have called that an Uchimata Gaeshi, right? They don't score it because he dove to get the score. And then when he didn't get the win, they gave it to Teddy, which felt a little like gifting Teddy a gold medal. Then Daniel Laskow said, name the throw. And there was still so much pushback that it was ridiculous. Did they not eventually give the other guy a gold medal as well? Yeah. So up until
the rule was there before.
But I never heard, did you ever hear them? I never heard them say it before. It was never brought up.
I heard it before. I heard it before that for a long time. So when I saw the fight I don't know if it was, maybe they didn't say name technique, but they say, for example, you cannot just push the other one when they do Chmata.
Right.
You cannot run them over. I know they said you cannot run them over.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I didn't say about the name.
Right.
But for sure, when I saw that fight, I was like, no, for sure it's no score because he just ran him over.
Right.
Because I remember they said, and this is what I want to change. You are allowed to run the other one over. Mm-hmm. If you get him on the back, then you get him on the back.
Right. Yeah, you're using their body movement against them, and you drive them onto their back. That's the whole game. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I would say that's in my top 3, but that's an interesting one.
That's in my top 3 for sure. Not that you have to name the throw, like, because all of my throws, they are not not Chinese name.
Every name of every throw that you do has Kazuri in front of it.
But for sure, like, I always get points for it because they know that I throw the other one. They don't want this just run over.
Right.
But I really like to just run over the other one. I think that's part of judo. Like, of course, it's if the other one is losing his balance, then you can just run him over. I think it was Clergier. He won one of his fights in Tokyo, in the World Championship in Tokyo, just running him over.
Right.
The other one was gonna do a Tuminago or something, but then he stopped going down, and then Clergier, he saw it, so he just ran him over. Mm-hmm. And it was just absolutely perfect. He was so fast that he could see, like, he went for Tuminago, then it didn't, but he was still halfway down, and I thought that, give a score for that.
Right.
I think we get a score for that. So
Yeah, my second rule, I can't fully decide. One that's on my mind is I really like 3 referees. If I could change a rule, I really think I would want 3 referees because I don't like the idea. I just don't like how it works. You have one referee, and then you have a referee at the table. And the referee on the mat makes calls unless this person disagrees. And then everything's overridden by this person. You have one referee, and you have a referee at the table. And if the referee at the table disagrees, he just says this person, nope, change it. Where it's not a discussion, it's not a group, it's not democratic. So I think the 3 referees, in many reasons, I like that system better, that it's 3 people deciding together as professional referees instead of one person just telling them they're wrong and changing the call. That might be second to me because I just think it makes for a fairer, more reasonable.
I also like if we start about they had to discuss about it. It would also be fun if you let the athletes discuss. Oh, what do you think? No, I really pulled you over here. Like, come on, you know I pulled you. You can see how I was moving the feet. You can see my feet was like pushing you up there.
Right.
But that would be too crazy if everyone would start to.
Right. Yeah, I think. But yeah, I like your Shido rule a lot. I think. I know the head dive rule I want changed, 100%. Your Shido rule is good in concept, but it's never existed in my life. So I'm intrigued by it, right? We've seen the 3 refs before, and I like that. So if those are my top 3 in some order, they probably are. Then maybe the leg grab rule would be number 4 for me. Maybe.
I would maybe take back the reverse Unagi as well.
Where do you list that?
I don't know.
See, the reverse Seiwinage, which they're saying it's a standing armbar, right? Is the reason, I believe. That's only one. Here's why I would put that lower on my list.
Yeah, because it's only one thing.
Only one technique. Grabbing the legs is like.
But it's with that technique, it's open up for the uke to be ready to more things, you know. Mm-hmm. Open up to so many things. You cannot just you cannot push so much this side because it could be a reverse Unagi coming up. Mm-hmm. It's open up the game much more. And I like the idea to have an open game.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I just think there's more value in the number of techniques that are opened by grabbing the leg than a reverse Seiya.
Yeah, but you open another possibility, another way to throw from the reverse, from their lapel grip.
Yeah, this is true.
So,
but I just think there's a lot more throws gained by grabbing the leg. So I would put that above on my list. Maybe I'm
not sure.
Maybe I'd put it number 5.
The thing I want to try the grabbing the leg, but I'm not sure it's gonna be opposed to judo. So. For sure.
So here's my agreement and pushback. I could say the same thing about your Shido rule. Your Shido rule might lead to better judo. It
would be really good judo with my Shido rule. I'm sure.
It might be really good judo that we see very sporadically. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it will be next level. All of these shit attacks will be away.
Maybe. So well, no, not all. I disagree with that part.
No, because you don't need to do shit attacks to make the other one to get a passivity shield.
Okay, so here's my pushback. Have you ever watched people do randori? In training?
Yes.
Have you ever seen a shit attack?
Yes.
How often are you doing this when people do randori? Probably not that often. So no. I think we're still going to see some shit attacks, but
then you can get the shido for the shit attack. You don't get the shido in randori. So
it's true. I don't think we're not going to see any. I think that's
okay. I take it back. We will not see as many.
Okay, that might be valid. I might agree. But it's also like, you know, it's an interesting thing. Like the false attack rule, does have a large gray zone in it.
Yeah.
What is a false attack and what's not?
Especially when it's like it's just 1% worse than the one before, and then it's 1% worse than the one before, and then like she's done 100 attacks now, and it's really really bad, but it's always just a little bit
just
worse.
a little worse than it was before. Yeah. It's very hard to gauge that.
No, but one thing that has to be for sure is that all judo federation has the same rule sets. I don't want the Japanese to like make these rule sets and then the IGF don't follow, or the Japanese have to like follow us, or the IGF. They have to stay together, or they will end up like karate or something that have 10,000 different styles, and then there's no federation, no Olympic, and no nothing. One rule set.
I'm not worried about that happening personally.
No, I don't know, because I think that IGF knows that everyone has to be on the same page. But if it's coming up more different federation with different rule sets, then everything will end up like jiu-jitsu or karate, or what to name different sports. Okay. Judo has only one judo.
Conspiracy theory question for you. Okay.
Yes.
What do you think the motivation was by the All Japan Federation putting this rule out and making it known? I mean, they had to make it known for their tournaments, but do you think there was more of a reason? Do you think it's an attempt, like knowing that judo is Japan?
I think it's an attempt. Yes.
You think it's them?
I think they want to show IGF how much power they have. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Japan is a powerhouse, both in how they do judo and politically, and it started there. And I think they want to say to the IGF, we invented this sport, and we want this rule back, and the whole world wants it back.
And there's a rumor that I think it's been confirmed that they were really unsatisfied with the Olympic Games, how it was, how the competition was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is like part of that, to show we are the man.
Right.
If we want something to happen. And then I think it's up to IGF if they want to accept it or not.
Yeah.
They have to, because IGF is also big. They can also
they want to show everybody how powerful they are, right?
Yeah, they can say, okay, you're out. You cannot compete, and then we'll see what happens.
It's an interesting couple of months ahead, I think, because it'll be really interesting to see what does the IGF change. Do you think, next, do you think there's a chance that the IGF changes realistically, they're not bringing the Tommy Macias Shido rule, sadly. That's not going to happen. But do you think there's a chance that the IGF looks at, I'll bring them up and you name them. Do you think there's a chance they look at a Yuko again?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
I'm not sure that they'll consider Yuko, but you think so. Okay. Next rule. Do you think IGF reconsiders their head diving rule?
Yes.
I think so too. And I think they have to, because of not just average people, but the amount of world, Olympic, medalist, champions that think, and head coaches of countries that think it's horrible. So I agree, they got to relook at the head dive rule. Do you think they look at bringing back the leg grabs? Do you think IGF seriously considers it?
I think they consider it. I don't think it will happen, but I think they talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, I think I really hope they change the head dive rule. I really think there will be some change. I'm not sure they'll look at the Yuko rule. I'm positive they'll have discussions about leg grabs. I don't know if it'll change, though. I don't know what else they change other than that. Hopefully they don't make our...
They will not touch the Hante. The Hante rule will not.
No, that's not changing. Golden score stand. The other one is like, do you think they make our judo gis even bigger again? I don't think so. I think they finally found that they're big enough. I think the judo gis are fine. Hopefully they don't try to change that again.
Yeah, they will not change it. Or like, of course they will change it in the future so they can sell more judo gis. So
right, they might make us change the patch color.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they make any judogi rule changes. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Any Newaza rule changes? Is there anything worth changing in Newaza? I think Newaza is pretty good.
Leg locks.
No, they're not bringing leg locks back. I don't even think leg locks is a discussion. Ankle locks and knee locks. I don't think that's much of a discussion. I personally am not on board with leg locks. People blow at their knees enough. You don't need more dislocated and busted ACLs. Trying to think if there's anything else. Any other ones? No. I think that's it. Are they doing...
I think they will do something about fake attacks.
You think they'll do something about it? Maybe.
Yeah. I think they will not know my rule set with the passivity that would fix everything. So they have to make sure the fake attacks have to try to fix those.
Yeah,
because I think they could see at the Olympics that it was a problem. People were just doing not bad attacks, but fake attacks, so yes, can't do other one, and they have to fix that.
Yeah, and that could have a real impact on the use of Syoyo Toshi or drop Seonage. Like that could be interesting. The 57-kilogram player from Korea really highlighted where we're sitting at it, and it's like it's not a great place on what is considered a false attack, because her, I mean, as we've said, but her attack rate is super high. 70% of her attacks have zero chance at getting a score. They have zero chance at being a decent attack. So, yeah. That is one they may have to look at too. But yeah,
we will for sure talk about it, I think.
Yeah, so we should. January is when those rules come out. So the first time we should see implementing the new rules is probably Paris Grand Slam, right? Probably February.
Yeah, something around that.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, that's a lot of rule talk. Anything else? We good? Think we're pretty good for this week?
Very good. Yeah, I think this was good for this week.
Yeah, so next week I'll let you know how the Ontario Open went. And you got any major tournaments coming up? More training camps coming up? Any travel plans?
I'm going to Estonia next week. So
Estonia. How far is Estonia from you?
It's a 2-hour flight.
South?
No, east.
East. Gotcha. So it's another Macias camp?
Yes. It was where everything started, actually. With my best friend over there. He organized it. And first I just wanted to come for a visit. And then we did a camp together.
Right.
And now it's the third year I'm back there and hosting the camp.
So you excited?
So, yeah, it's the best to be there. Like I love where I am all the time, but now I have a really good connection with all the other coaches as well. This is my third time coming there, and I've been missing them for a whole year.
Right.
So
what kind of size should the camp be? How many people are you expecting?
We are expecting now around 200.
That's
like the first year we were 120, I think. Second year 160, and now I think we're up on 200.
That's huge, eh?
Yeah.
How many coaches will be in attendance?
Like I'm the.
No, I mean how many coaches like helping facilitate? Because 200 athletes, you're teaching the techniques. There's 200 people, and then make sure athletes get feedback. There must be a number of club coaches and.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess all the club coaches have one club coach with them, or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just a.
We do it in two groups, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it will not be 200 on the mats.
Yeah, that's a lot.
100 on the mat, so it's fun. And also a fun thing with Estonia is that me and my wife's story started in Estonia. So.
Is that where you guys met?
It's where we saw each other. Like, I like her.
It's the first time you winked at Matilda. Was in Estonia? Yeah. Were you there at a tournament?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And a training camp, and then I saw her.
So is she going with you to the camp in Estonia?
No, not this year. She was with me the first year.
Okay.
because the first year we did like a family trip over there to meet my friend, and then they were there, and then we did a little vacation as well. And then Matilda, when Matilda came back to that city, she was like, I've been there a lot of times, but she was like, oh, I remember this hotel, because we were staying at the same hotel we were staying at that time, and she's like, oh, I remember this. So much memories coming back. So
Right. Nice. Well, enjoy, and I'll talk to you next week sometime.
yes,
All right. So see you next week.
see you next week.